Good morning, everybody. My name is Sean Michael Walker with Premier Group Insurance, and this is the Insurance You Indemnify Me podcast. And today we have somebody who I've wanted to come on the show forever since the moment I met him in the beautiful state of Utah. And his name is Christos
Provistalis.
Provistalis. Thank you. For months, I'm like, there's this great guy in the world that we have to introduce the world to, and his name's Christos
Something or other, you know.
I don't know. I don't know.
It's a long Greek last name.
Is it Greek?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just Christos P.
I got to tell you, the other night I was falling asleep and I was like, I don't know if I've met anybody in my entire life named Christos. Like, Christophers and Chris's and but I've never met a Christos.
Thank you.
And so
Thank
my
you
whole
very much.
life I was like, that whole night I was like, surely I've probably met a Christos. I couldn't pull up a single one in my memory bank.
Oh, I appreciate that.
That's a great name.
And as excited you are to have me, I'm so excited to be here with someone like you. That is, senior vice president of such a large agency, a large aggregator. And I'm excited. So thank you very much for having me, man.
So excited to have you here. I can't wait to just take our time and ease into this and have the world get to know you. This podcast, we send it out to, all over the place on social media. We send it out to all of our agents. But we also send it out to all of our carrier partners as well. Like, hey, carriers, watch this show, or we would like you to see this. And so I'm excited for them to see you as well. I'm excited for everybody to see Christos, introduce the world to Christos. So I'm super excited to have you here. So let's start out with who the freaking heck is Christos? I got a little glimpse of you at the Chris Paradiso Mastermind in Utah, which your presentation was absolutely incredible, absolutely floored me, and that's why you're here today, because I've just been running that over in my mind for months, and the things you taught is just really, really great stuff. But who the heck are you on a personal level?
On a personal level, let's see. I live in Connecticut. I live in central Connecticut. My family and I own a little takeout and delivery pizzeria.
Owned or own?
Own.
Okay.
We currently own, and we're in our 30th year.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And, I learned a lot working for my parents. I learned a lot working for my youngest brother, who took over our operation in the last few years. I learned a lot about myself, because you always think you're self-aware until you realize that you're not.
Yeah.
Which is a piece that I teach in the class of, even though the class has to do with customer experience, it has to do with yourself first. It has to do with, how do you think you come across? Are you aware of how your interactions affect everyone around you?
Yeah.
Are you aware of your behaviors?
Yeah.
So
how many people would you, I hate to derail this already, but how many people, are there studies or how many people do you think, if there aren't any studies that you can quote, do you think are actually very self-aware of who and what their, how they communicate rubs wrong or is accurate? How many of them are actually self-aware of how well they present or lack thereof?
I couldn't quote you a study, but I can tell you this, that every time I present for a group, whether it's a group of 10 or a group of 700, and I ask, how many here think you are self-aware? The majority of the room. I'm sorry?
The whole room raises their hand?
The opposite.
Think, right? Oh, really?
The opposite. The majority of the room doesn't.
Really?
And what we normally do without knowing is the people that are they feel they're a little bit self-aware, actually, depending on how much self-aware they think they are, is how high they raise their hand.
Yeah, right.
And it's something they do without knowing.
Yeah, right.
But I can tell you this, though.
They're like, I'm self-aware. Is it
Correct.
okay to raise my hand?
Exactly.
Because I'm self-aware? Yeah.
I can tell you this, though, from my experience of meeting some of these people. When I ask the question, the people that typically go, I'm self-aware, are the ones that are the least self-aware.
Yeah.
Because they're so sure they are. And they're not.
Yeah.
So back to the restaurant. And so we opened it May of 1994. My mom, my dad, and myself. My parents took me out of high school for a week to open the restaurant.
Wow.
And then I was like, couldn't wait to get out of high school. And then they put me in the restaurant. And after a week there, I'm like, send me back to school.
I got to get out of
here.
here.
I'm like, send me back to school. I'm okay going back to school. I had a different appreciation for it.
Yeah.
And I went through college. I owned a business right after college for a little while. And then I ended up having an opportunity to move to Florida and become a guest service manager for the Walt Disney Company.
Yeah.
And I worked there for close to 6 years.
Yeah.
And the lessons that I was taught there on how to think was everything. And after I left the company, I slowly created a class. It took me about 18 months or so to create a class as to how, I wanted to make sure that I just didn't create a customer service class that just says, oh, listen, the customer is always right. Give them a free bottle of water.
Right. Make them feel good, slap them on the back.
And it's not all about that. It's really, it has to do with yourself. And it has to do with knowing and understanding what you sell. And which is the name of my class is called What Do You Sell? And then I moved back home. I moved back home to get married. And I'm married to this beautiful girl named Erin, and we have a beautiful life in Connecticut.
Very cool.
And I've been speaking for about a few years now, but in the last year and a half, it's really taken off. And I was just in New England for a little while, and then this year was my first year that I'm in about 2 to 4 states a month going into the end of this year.
So everything's just kind of been supercharged recently.
Yeah. And especially in your industry.
Yeah.
I was very, very lucky to meet Chris Paradiso.
Yeah.
What an amazing human being he is. Selfless person, if I ever met one, that said, you know what, why don't you come to this mastermind that I'm a part of in Utah?
Yeah.
And then later I find out it's his mastermind.
Yeah,
he didn't even tell me.
Right.
And then I got to meet you and just some amazing agency owners. And he introduced me to the insurance industry, which I was just in real estate and lending and hospitality.
Yeah.
But your industry took me by storm, and now I'm in.
Yeah. You're all over the place now.
I'm all over the place.
Well,
Thank you.
He really introduced you to that. His group, that mastermind group, is really there's something incredibly special about that group of agents. There's a lot of different groups that get together all over the country, and they all have something incredibly special about them. But there's just something incredible about that moment that Chris Paradiso pulls together on an annual basis. And that group of agents, there's just something magical that goes on there. There's a lot of stuff that's being shared in that room that, I kind of think about like the line from Hamilton where he goes, I want to be in the room where it happens. Like he puts together the room where it happens, and those are the agents that are making it happen. And what's being discussed there is pretty incredible stuff.
I've never met a group of individuals, and I think I said this the last day we were there.
Yeah.
I never met people that all they do is talk about the next person, meaning everyone was like, I was like, so tell me about your agency. Tell me about what you've done.
No, this guy's amazing.
That's exactly what every single person did. And it made me realize, I left there with my mind blown, and I'm like, I need to be better at that.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe I talk too much about myself.
Maybe I'm not self-aware.
100%, man. 100%. I tell my wife, I'm like, listen, I teach the class. I'm really self-aware. She's like,
she's like, I just said 18 things non-verbally to you, and you're not picking it up, bro.
She's like, your feet are pointing away from me talking. And I'm like, oh my God, Aaron, you're right. She's like, I don't care. You teach the class. So and
she's like, put this in your class. Footnote. Aaron says.
Listen, she keeps me on track. Yeah. She's amazing. She's my number one supporter.
Yeah.
And my goodness.
What did she say when you were like, hey, I'm gonna go start teaching a class? Was she like, honey, what in the hell are you talking about?
When we got together,
like, do it.
When we got together, I told her, I'm like, listen, we've been together. This end of this year will be 6 years that we're married.
Yeah.
And I was like, I created this class and I started doing it here and there for companies. And she was like, that's great. She's like, and then all of a sudden I started slowly getting paid to speak. And then I told Aaron, some people have told me that I have a message, and I really want to try to take it, on bigger stages and bigger. And she said, do it. Yeah. And that's the only thing she really taught. She goes, let me know what you need from me and just do it.
Go for it.
And I was like, oh my goodness, thank you. She's like, do whatever makes you happy. Yeah. And I was like, it makes me just want to be an amazing partner to her even more. And I'm like, man, argue with me for a second, I'm like, and then I just, slowly I reached out to Chris, so I reached out to Chris because I heard that not only does he own this amazing insurance agency, he's a speaker, and also amount of things that he does for his community.
Sure, it's amazing.
And I reached out to him and I said, hi, Chris, my name is Christos. I'm a speaker. I wanted to ask a couple questions on scaling and how do you do this? And he sent me a message back on LinkedIn. He goes, let's not message. He goes, just come to my office and talk. And I did my presentation for his company. And then he said, let me introduce you to 200 of my closest friends. And then it's really exploded from there. So one person could really change your trajectory.
Yeah. Well, I will openly say this. I've met thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of agents over my course of my 22-year career. I was on the carrier side for a long time, and I managed Texas and Oklahoma and New Mexico and Louisiana and Utah and dabbled in other states all over the place. I mean, I've met thousands of agencies, and I think it's safe to say, it's very safe to say that Chris Paradiso is probably the best of us. Like, as far as like the one that we should all look at and go, we should aspire to be like that guy. It's Chris Paradiso. And I know this is sounding like a big Chris Paradiso commercial, but he's
an amazing human being.
He's an amazing human being, and he just happens to be an insurance agent.
Yeah, every time I will have breakfast or hang out with him, I just want to be better. Yeah, I'm always like, man, I could do this better in my life. I can do this, and he motivates and inspires me to just be a better human being. Yeah, forget about business. Yeah, in life, it's true. He makes me just want to be a better human being. So I'm lucky. I'm lucky to call him my friend.
I have never woken up early in my life. Like, I never thought it was possible. Now I'm waking up early and working out every morning, and it's like, and part of me is like, that's Chris Paradiso's fault. And also I saw a post on it. It was like something like, I was going to go running the other day, and I asked somebody if they wanted to come running with me, and they said, no, I'm not a morning person. Then his post was like, none of us are morning people. Like, just some of us get up and do it, And I'm like, I'm not a morning person. That's what I would have told Chris. In fact, I've told Chris that before in hotel lobbies the night before. Like, hey, we're all going to go running at 5 a.m. I'm like, not me. I'm not a morning person. And now I'm finding myself waking up being a morning person, maybe because Chris Paradiso, in a sneaky way, got me to become a morning person.
It's great.
That son of a gun.
It's great that he
has that influence.
Yeah. And I know that the last time we were all together, he told me a quote that his dad would constantly say to him, and this is not just in business, in all aspects of life. He said that his father said to him, you're an average of the 5 people you hang out with the most.
Oh, yeah, that's a good quote.
And when you really deeply think about it, you are. Yeah. Whether you know it, don't know it, admit it, or don't admit it, you are. And just hanging out with him and has elevated me in so many different ways. So,
nice. So that leads me to my next question. If you feel like we have a good enough understanding of who you are, do you feel like the 83,000 people watching have a good enough understanding of who you are? Anything else you need to say? Are you a performer?
Am I a performer?
Are you a performer? Have you ever been a performer? Like, when you give your presentation, it doesn't feel like you're performing.
A little bit.
But I know not that you're a comedian, but I know like a comedian will go into their monologue and it's like everything's timed and everything's in sync. And so even today I was driving over here and I'm like, I wonder how Christos will do with me like disrupting his syncopation of answers, Are you a performer?
Well, there's some aspects of it that are timed and strategic. and some that are not, because sometimes, because I ask a lot of questions in my class.
Sure.
I ask a lot of, it's not just me speaking.
Yeah.
So sometimes it does get derailed in a really good way. And then all of a sudden, some great conversation starts and ideas start popping. So I'm okay with that. But I like to throw in a couple jokes, make people laugh, and I've learned that over the years, some jokes didn't land.
Yeah.
And then we changed it.
You're
right?
like, ooh, let's
I was
not
like,
do
oh,
that
I
one.
thought that was funny, but it doesn't really matter what you think. But I think the biggest thing, I was taught that I teach in my class is one thing that you brought up is whatever business you're in, know and understand what you actually sell, not what you think you sell.
Right.
So
I love that concept. So I'll ask now, what do you think insurance agents sell? I mean, in your class, you talk about what Nike actually sells, what Disney actually sells, what Rolex actually sells. What do you think insurance agents sell?
Now I can tell you,
what does a pizza parlor sell?
every single pizza place, every single insurance agency, every single company sells something different.
Yeah.
You can, I would think that an insurance agency sells a sense of safety and security.
Yeah.
Is what, now you could have an insurance agency that
says I sell education.
That sells education. Yeah. And so it could be different, but I would think you don't sell insurance policies.
Yeah.
You don't sell that. That's boring.
Yeah, right.
That's, even when
you don't sell the legal contract, the 83-page contract that is horrible to read.
You sell, you want to make sure the people that are buying from you, that are doing business with you, you want them to really understand and feel that
they're protected.
They're protected.
Yeah.
But it's your job as an agency to make sure they feel it.
Yeah.
Because there's two different things. Me, as an insurance agency owner, wanting to make sure my customers feel protected is one thing. Mm-hmm. Having them feel that is a complete other. Oh. And now some people think they get that point across when they don't.
Right.
Now it's up to you to make sure that your client truly understands what you sell.
Yeah. So let's go back. You're an average of the 5 people you hang out with. In your presentation, you talk about your best friend. But I got to tell you, honestly, that part of the presentation is a little cloudy to me. So what point were you driving home in the presentation about your best friend?
I had a best friend named George. Mm-hmm. He was my everything. We just clicked from the time we met, and he really affected me. He really made me different. He made me look at things in a way that a lot of things didn't bother him as much. He was just always so bubbly and always so happy and so likable. And he just would, shrug some things off that really didn't, matter. Mm-hmm. And I just learned a lot from him. And he was just so likable. Everyone wanted to be his.
He'd walk into a room and was just a magnet.
Yeah, he's a magnet. It was a magnet.
Don't you love those people?
I
love those people.
You're
one of those people, by the way. Like, you walk into a room and people are like, "Who's that guy?" And people are just immediately starting to move towards you. Like, what is this guy?
You mind calling me every day, Sean, just to tell me that?
I'm not joking.
I would appreciate it.
Some people got that. I call it the chispa. That's the Spanish word for spark.
Okay.
And I always just say that person's got chispa. Like in our family, I always say that person's got chispa. And my kids know I'm saying that person has a spark that has them gravitating towards them. Yeah. Or where's your chispa? I always say, where's your chispa?
And it just was something that hanging out with him just made me just more happier. Yeah. A lot more happier. Yeah. And unfortunately, we lost him, about 8 years ago now. Uh-huh. But he ended up, introducing me to my next best friend, which is my wife, Erin.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Very cool. Yeah. What makes Erin so cool?
Let's see. She is a 10. She's a 10 out of 10. She is beautiful. She is educated. She is so easygoing, and she is just so, I come up with ideas. I'm like, Aaron, I want to do this. Aaron, I want to buy a house in Denver.
go.
Aaron, I want, and she's like, Christos, relax, come. What do you? Every city you visit, you want to buy a house, and you want to do. And I was like, this place is great. I want to. And she's like, all right, calm down for a second. I was like, okay. And then she's like, all right, whatever you think you want to do, you think if that makes sense, let's just go do it. But just make sure it makes sense. And I'm always like, half the things I'm like, oh man, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I'm like,
it doesn't even make sense.
But she's always like, which always makes me be like, man, I'm like, I need to always do good by her, like to just because she just supports me in everything. I'm like, Aaron, I'm gonna be traveling for X amount of time. I'm gonna be doing this. I'm doing that. I'm like, but when I get home, I know I have duties. I know I have to take care of this. And she's like, don't worry about that stuff.
Yeah,
just don't worry about it.
Yeah, worry
about your work. Worry about what you need to do. That stuff's okay.
Yeah.
And it makes me, because, I get stressed out. Sometimes I'm not home for, 10 days or 2 weeks out of the month. And I want to make sure, she doesn't think I'm slacking on that. I'm thinking about it. And
or
she just
not mentally present.
Yeah. So, and for her to be like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It makes me be like, oh man, she's amazing.
Yeah.
She's really amazing. And she's has a great family. She has great sisters. Like, my in-laws are they're so awesome. They're so great to hang out. There's times that I'm like, I just want to go and have lunch or coffee with them. And Erin will call me. She's like, what are you up to today? And I'm like, I'm at your parents' house. And she's like, what? I was like, yeah, we're drinking coffee and watching the Golden Girls, And she's like, okay,
all right.
She's like, I'm working. I was like, yeah, I'm doing research and development.
They were telling me about a book.
That I need to read.
So Erin's the bomb. Is she Greek?
She's not.
So you didn't have a big fat Greek wedding or anything like that?
We still did.
Okay.
We did. We had a...
Opa was yelled and plates were broken.
Yes. Some plates by accident, some on purpose.
Okay.
We had a big Greek fat reception, engagement party.
Okay.
In Greece.
Okay. Really?
In Greece, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So we have a lot of family. I have a lot of family in Greece, and instead of having 80 people come here, our families were like, why don't we go and celebrate with them there?
Yeah.
And we had an amazing engagement party there.
Wow.
That my aunt threw for us and coordinated, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was really amazing for everybody to meet Erin and get to know her, and
that's cool.
For us to eat some great Greek food and just experience Greece for a little bit.
Very cool. All right, so we had some technical difficulties, but let's get back into it. So Erin's the bomb, Greek wedding. It was amazing.
It was great. It was a great people, a great family, great party. Just it was, the best party of your life, right?
Yeah.
You have your closest people all around you that love and support you, and it was amazing. I feel very lucky.
Yeah, very cool.
Very lucky.
All right, so What I want to do now is I just kind of want to transition into what have you learned about the insurance industry so far? You've been hanging out with all these insurance guys and gals. What have you learned?
I've learned recently that it's been tough.
Yeah.
I recently learned that a lot of agents and agencies are getting hit hard. Yeah. Especially in certain states, like in Florida, for when carriers are pulling out and premiums are skyrocketing, and they're having to explain that in a way to their customers that be like, we don't control the prices, we just provide you with the carrier, and but at the end of the day, they're still the ones getting the hit, because they're the person directly dealing with the client,
right,
and you feel for them, because there's that causes some negativity, You can't help that by causing it.
It makes the customer experience bumpy.
Yeah, and then, it makes the office setting a little bit bumpy. But at the end of the day, those are the prices. Now, whether they go into this carrier or this agency or that agency, all the carriers that provide service to them, they're still going to receive, the same price. So I think educating your clients as to, I just want to let you know
why this is all happening.
And if you decided that, we're not a fit for you, if you go to another agency, it's going to be pretty much the same thing as long as you write the same coverage. This is something that's just nationwide. Right. So I think education is the biggest thing, because at the end of the day, or being a step ahead, as to be like, hey, I just want to let you know the way things are going. You could probably expect an increase of this amount. Just setting expectations. That are realistic. But yeah, I've learned that, and I've learned that. But the agents are really resilient. They're you get it all out, be like, all right, it is what it is. What are we gonna do to move forward, though? Right? You can't unpack your bags and live there. Right? If you're gonna be upset for a little bit, an hour, 10 minutes a day, get it all out and be like, okay, how we gonna do this moving forward? Because everybody still needs insurance. And whether it's your agency or another agency, they're going to purchase insurance. You want to make sure they're purchasing it from you.
What's interesting? This hard market is incredible. They say it's the hardest market in a generation, and I've been in insurance for 22 years. This is the hardest market I've seen in 22 years. I should specify in personal lines like auto, home, kind of stuff. But it's also an incredible time for opportunity. My wife is an insurance agent, and just last week, she did 4 broker of records, which is where, a client calls up and says, hey, I'm upset with my current agent. The rate went up super duper high. I need to talk to you and see if there's anything you can do to help me. And of course, she's a sweetheart and she's educational. And she goes, look, this is a tough market. Your current agent is probably not done anything wrong, and I'm sure they're doing everything they can for you, but they're stuck in a pretty hard spot. And they go, yeah, well, I'm upset that my agent didn't quote me or whatever. I'm upset my agent didn't educate me the way I'm supposed to be educated or whatever. And so she goes, okay, well, let me see what I can do. Comes back 24 hours later, 48 hours later, a week later, I don't know, and says, there's nothing I can do for you. Like, this is just the state of the market. Like, you're in the best place. And then, but then she also finishes up by saying, but if you don't love your agent, you can sign this piece of paper and you can become my client, right? Which is called a BOR, an agent of record, of AOR, BOR. And she's gotten four clients, 4 humongous households in the last week of her saying, not throwing the previous agent under the bus, just saying, they're stuck in a bad situation. Even if you come to me, there's not much I'm going to be able to do to help you. You'll be stuck in the same bad situation, or you'll be stuck in the same situation. And by the time the whole process is over, they're like, well, I've really liked the educational steps you've taken me through, and I like the fact that you've explained it all to me, and I'd much rather have you be my agent. And so she's winning business even in this complicated time, not in the traditional sense of winning business of like, hey, Christos, I'd like to quote your policy, and if I can save you $400, would you move your policy to me? And have you go, yeah, of course, $400 pays for a cruise, so yeah, I'll do that. Instead, she's winning business, and I think a lot of agents are winning business in this new, unique way of saying, because everybody's getting calls, everybody's upset that their rate went up astronomically, and if we handle those calls correctly, those things could turn into like slam dunk brand new customers through the most simple process possible, which is called a BOR, where you just sign one piece of paper and say, I don't want to be with my current agent anymore, I want to be with you now, because I like the education I'm getting from you better, or the level of communication.
And one thing, she was honest, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, your agent is not, they're probably doing a great thing. They're just stuck in a really bad spot with you with the carriers and the situation.
So she did the opposite of what some people might do. Instead of putting that agent down, which is really unprofessional, she actually supported that agent, which is unheard of, right? And then when you're honest with people, and then at the end, right before you hang up the call, be like, well, if for some reason you're not you don't want to, here you go. It wasn't the thing that she led with. It wasn't, but at the end of the day, she's still trying to grow her book as well. So, it just was nice because it disarms them.
Yeah, right. That's exactly right.
So,
like, even after she does the homework, it's like, I did the homework. Your current agent, who you're upset with, actually has you in the right spot. Oh, okay. Well, I still don't want to be with them. Okay, great. Well, then you can come to me.
Yeah.
Okay, great. That's what I want as the consumer. And now she's, won many large policies over the course of the last couple of weeks doing this. And it's like, it's just incredible that in this hard market, there's still ways for agents to absolutely win, So the question can you give me a rundown of like what the presentation is?
Sure. The name of the class is called "What Do You Sell?" And it comes from a conversation I had with an executive that walked into my restaurant at Disney. When I was there, I worked at the Grand Floridian. And he said to me, he said, Christos, he said, what do you sell? And I was like, man, I'm like, this guy's an idiot. I'm like, he can't read the menu behind me. And I turned around and I pointed to the menu.
You're like, this is what we sell.
And I started reading, and then he looked at me and he goes, I could read the menu. That's not what I meant. And that's when I went, this conversation's not going to go well.
Yeah.
And he goes, Christos, what do we sell as a company? And I still didn't get it. I said, we sell theme park tickets. We sell hotel rooms. We sell merchandise. He goes, that's not what we sell.
Oh, boy.
I said,
you're like, oh, crap. I'm going to lose my job.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I'm done today. At that point, I'm like looking for exit signs. I'm like, I'm just going to leave.
You're like,
and he said, Christos, he goes, we only sell one thing. I said, okay. And he goes, understand that we don't have the best theme parks. We don't have the best hotels. We don't have the best rides.
Yeah.
But we have the best people. I said, okay. And through that, we only sell one thing. He said, we sell an emotion that people desire is the only thing that we sell.
Yeah.
And he goes, but we're lucky. We sell the most desired human emotion there is.
And we do it better than anybody else.
We do it better than anyone else.
Yeah.
We sell the emotion of happiness.
Yeah.
And then the next thing he said really changed my perspective on how I view business moving forward. He said, when you know and understand what you sell, your whole business changes. And he said, when you know and understand what you sell, your job is to evoke the emotion you want your client to feel. If you're an insurance agency, if you want them to feel safe and secure, make sure you find a way to evoke that. If you are a lender, if you sell money, do you sell money or do you sell a sense of creating wealth?
Right.
That after 20 to 30 years when your mortgage is paid off, you have an asset that's appreciated that you can possibly pass down to your family. Or do you sell money?
Right.
Know and understand what you actually sell.
Yeah.
And that really is the basis of the class. But the main subjects of the class is was also taught about emotion.
Yeah.
And how emotion plays a role in every single decision in our life. So a piece of the class is emotion. A piece of the class is self-awareness, what we talked about before. Are you fully aware of how your feelings and behaviors interact with your environment? And a piece of the class has to do with perception. I asked this in the class, what business are we all in? All of us, myself, yourself, everyone included, we're in the customer perception business. What customers perceive is not only their reality, but your reality. So understand how they think, why they think that. Right. So it's not just about, hey, listen, I'm going to give you a free soda or water. That's how we make people happy. Understand them. Understand your clients deeply and genuinely. When you understand them, you'll be able to serve them, and then you'll be able to serve them really well. Yeah. So that's the class. It runs about 90 minutes or so. There's a few aha moments in there that make people go, oh, I never thought of it like this. And
there's a lot of those moments. Yeah.
It's a lot. And thank you for being one of my fans.
Incredible.
Like,
it's incredible.
I appreciate that. Every time you would post something about me, I'm like,
you say there's moments, but like the whole presentation is like a big, humongous aha moment. Like as you transition through all of it, it's like everything he's saying is making perfect sense, and I've never thought of it this way.
Thank you.
Yeah. Are there any like follow-ups to the presentation? Like, hey, I did the presentation. How are you guys implementing the things that I taught you guys?
So there's some companies that hire me to present for them. And after I present for them, they keep me for a day or two, depending on how big their workforce is. And I spend time individually with everyone, getting to know them and getting to know, help them get to know themselves. Like, how do you think you come across? You know, if you're talking to someone and, you know, you're like this and your face is like this. And I'm like, and you're face to face with someone, I said, what do you think you're putting out? And are you aware that you're putting that out? What's your tone? What's your pitch and tone? Which is 38% of our communication is tone and pitch of your voice.
Yeah.
Are you aware?
Yeah.
Do you send a lot of texts and emails to your clients, which are great for information, but what do texts and emails lack?
Pitch and tone.
Emotion and pitch and tone. So unless you're writing to them, hey, I just want to let you know, you won $100,000 today. Everything can be misconstrued.
Yeah.
So understanding how you come across, and then understanding what you need to do to make sure that that client of yours really knows that you have their back.
Yeah.
On a level that nobody can understand.
Yeah.
So that's what the follow-up is. And then, sometimes they do some quarterly check-ins with some companies to see if they've implemented some of the things we've talked about.
Right.
And if they're having difficulty with some things and why they're having difficulty.
Yeah. Yeah, so many incredible aha moments through the whole thing.
Thanks, man.
I mean, I got done. I was just like, holy crap, that just blew my mind.
Oh,
It's so good.
I appreciate
that.
that.
So good. So you did great.
Every time you posted something about me, I was like, Sean again is posting about me. Mom, Dimitri, Aaron, Sean, and they're like, stop with Sean. You're always talking about who is that Sean? I'm like, you need to meet him on a cruise. He's a lot of fun,
He's an animal.
He's an animal, After his wife is sleeping, he's different. He's different. He's a different side of him.
Yeah, that's not true. I'm actually the exact same guy with my wife right by my side, which is why she's so amazing because she's willing to just be like, go ahead, do it.
Has she been in insurance for a long time?
I convinced her, I don't know, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
So I've always been in it, and 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, I said, this is a no-brainer. You should totally do this. And so she's gotten into it.
That's great, man.
It sounds great, but it's actually horrible because at night I'll come home from work after working a long, hard day in insurance, and she'll start talking to me about, this underwriter said this, or my client did this, or this thing is going this way, or this is how this thing's going, and I'm just like, I should have never gotten you into insurance because I've been doing it for the last 10 hours today, and I don't want another 3 hours of insurance talk, But the other problem is like she's an insurance agent and does it like writes policies and interacts with clients on a daily basis. I don't do that. That hasn't been the thing that I do in my career for like the last 20 years. I haven't written a policy in that long, and so from that perspective, it's kind of nice to get her, to have that perspective in my house. Sean, did you realize that on the third screen of the nationwide quoting system, it does this? And I'm going, no, I had no idea, but that's really interesting.
It's great to know.
It's really good intel. So from that perspective, it's really nice. But no, I should have probably never put her in the insurance industry. It's actually probably pretty unhealthy.
Okay, it's okay.
But that's that. So she is great, though. She's absolutely amazing.
Awesome, man.
All right, so best Disney story of all time. And actually, I take it back. I don't want the best Disney story of all time. You were just in Disney recently, right?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. How long were you there? How many days?
I spent 4 nights there.
4 days or 4 nights there.
Yep.
Great. What was the best customer experience you got out of those 4 days? Where you were just like, geez Louise, Disney does it so good.
I stayed at the Wilderness Lodge, and I can tell you that the getting to know your customers, whether you know them for a day or a year, is everything. And it's really, really little things, right? So I love coffee. That's my thing. I love to, and for some reason when I'm on vacation, so just like you, I'm not a morning person. I'd like to become one, but for some reason when I'm on vacation, I'm up like 6:37. Like I'm like, I want to get up. And I went to the little, I think it's called the Roaring Fork, and I went to grab a cup of coffee the first day, and I just happened to be talking to one of the cast members there. And then the next morning, I did the same thing, and that cast member was right there, and they said, "Hi, Chris, here for your coffee?" And I was like, yeah. I was like, and it was
small. Super small.
Almost nothing. But I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, yeah. And I was like, yeah. And then we just started a conversation. Like, well, what are you doing today? And it was just like such a little conversation that we had that just knew my name.
Yeah.
And also just knew that I was getting coffee, and they were excited about that. And it made my whole day, actually.
Yeah.
It really did. And something so small,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was great.
Well, you tell all these great stories in your presentation about how like you created these moments for people, and that's so cool. Like you hear these stories, and it's like, they're incredible stories about how, I don't know if like after your conversation with that boss of yours that said, "What do you sell?" If you at that moment like shifted your mentality and said,
big time,
I now am empowered to create the emotion of happiness. I'm no longer selling the things on the menu. I'm now empowered to like do what Disney wants me to do, which is create this emotion of happiness, and I'll go do it in the only way that Christos can do it, right? So, yeah, I just love those stories. Those are really, really powerful stories where you just create these incredibly magical moments for Disney guests. And because it's the Grand Floridian, I assume you're going above and beyond what most cast members can do, just because it's the flagship hotel.
Absolutely.
But the stories are just incredible to hear what you were able to do to create these magical moments for guests.
There's a story that I actually don't tell, that I haven't told in the class. I have the same ones that I use, but if you'd like to hear,
tell me.
And this is probably, it might be the most meaningful one.
Okay.
So maybe I need to include it in my class. Okay. Disney is known for, their restaurants are known for being very friendly when it comes to allergies. And when you work at a quick service restaurant, the manager on duty handles all the allergies.
Okay.
But when you work at a table service restaurant, the sous chef actually comes out to your table
And says, "What do you got?"
and says, and they're the ones that usually are the ones that are actually presenting it, or the ones that are usually preparing it.
Okay.
So it's not handed off to too many people, because just like the telephone game, I tell you this.
Yeah.
I was working at it's called Gasparilla's Island Grill. It's a 24-hour quick service restaurant.
Okay.
And a couple comes in with their child. It was a little girl. She was probably about 10 or 11 years old. And they said, "Hey, listen," she had a list. She actually had a list. And they're like, we've never ate at a restaurant ever, but we always are going to try. Our daughter is allergic to, I think it was like 11 things. Oh, so I would handle all the food with the allergies, a couple little things, right? Gluten or dairy, but I'm not. I know my role, and I know I couldn't. That was too much for me.
Sure.
And they said, most likely you're going to say no anyway, but we just want to try. And I said, sure. So I said, hold on for 1 second. So I took the list, and I went back in the kitchen, and I grabbed a couple of the sous chefs that were there, and I go, listen, can we make some magic for this couple and their child? They've never in their life ate at a table service restaurant, or actually a restaurant, because they can't.
Wow.
And I go, this is the list of allergies. I said, can you create anything?
Delicious, minus these things.
I would love for it to be delicious.
But anything.
Anything. I said, please. And I didn't even have to. They were like, let's go. And a couple of the sous chefs were there, and they're like, let's create something. And I said, ma'am, I'm not sure if we could assist you, but if you could just sit down right here at one of the tables. I said, I'd appreciate it, So, and they're like, sounds good. And I know they were making something. And I went and I got one of the servers from private dining room service. And I said, would you mind delivering their food in our restaurant with one of those, carts with the, the cover, and to be able, and they're like, absolutely. And I said, okay. So I went and I said, ma'am, give me a second. I just brought them some silverware and some stuff. They looked at me confused. And the sous chefs that prepared everything, along with the server, rolled out their food to their table at a quick service restaurant. And they said, here you go. And let me tell you the effect it had on them. They could not stop crying. They could not stop. They were blown away on a level that, and I started tearing up, and because I couldn't help it.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, what did I really do, Sean? Meaning, how much effort did I really put into that?
Right.
Hardly anything.
Right.
I mean, I wasn't even capable of doing it. So I went and I asked my sous chef partners, and I said, can we help do something out there? Can we help them make a little bit of magic? And they're the ones that really did it all. But at the end of the day, they left on they could hardly eat because they were so emotional. But that's what Disney sells. Yeah. They sell the emotion of happiness, and I loved working there. And without our guests, I don't have a job. Right. I know I don't have a job. Yeah. And I wanted to make sure that when I was taught what we sold, I sold that appropriately. Yeah. So that story to me, I will never forget. Because at the end of the day, when you're happy where you're at, you naturally will give amazing service. Right. There's not you could be taught a couple different ways on how to think, but your smile will tell you everything. Yeah. So that story to me is everything.
Yeah, I just love those stories, like where you have one, you're empowered to do it, which I think is a big part of this. Like empower your staff, empower your team to go create these moments, right? Mm-hmm. And then just set them free with that ability to go make these magical moments, and go for it. And it's so fun to hear like the way you did that. You're going, oh, I mean, I assume you were like, hey, I'm going to go screw around with the sous chefs for a second in the back and be like, what's up, guys? How's it going? Hey, let me tell you what's going on. This would be really cool if it would be possible. Is it even possible? And they're like, yeah, totally, maybe. Let's see. Mm-hmm. And then they come out and you're like kind of whipping up this magic moment. And you're like, this is going to be cool. This is going to be the highlight of my day, is whipping up this magic moment. And then it turns out to be the highlight of your week. And
I couldn't go to bed that night.
Yeah, right. That's really cool. And then to think about, and then for me to think about, okay, so how could we bridge that from, food service at Disney to insurance agent in Main Street America, and how could they present or create those magical moments? And that's the magic of your presentation is you walk away from it going, I bet you I could find one of those a week. One of those magical touches where somebody goes, my good heavens, you're amazing. Thank you for doing that for me. Or my good heavens, I've had 13 other insurance agents over the course of my life and nobody's ever done it this way or done something like this for me. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, because of you, just the other day, because of you, I've been writing these handwritten notes once a week, just one handwritten note a week and sending it out to an agent saying, hey, whatever it says, it's very personal and it says personal. Whatever it says, but I've gotten so much great feedback from that where they're like, thank you so much. I really appreciate you sending that handwritten note. And I guess my point is from your presentation of creating these magical moments, it's like helped me go, it can't be that hard to find a magical moment a week or 2 magical moments a week of just creating that for a customer.
And that becomes contagious.
And that becomes very contagious, right? It puts a smile on my face. Everybody's going, what are you smiling about? I'm like, oh, I just did this funny thing for this agent, and they're going to love it. And then they're going, I wonder if I should go do a cool, funny thing for an agent and go do something really neat.
Absolutely.
And then they're creating those experiences and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
Very cool. Very cool. Your presentation really just blew me away. It was
Thank
so
you
good.
For saying that again. I really appreciate that.
So here's one of the questions I'm dying to get to. In what town in Connecticut? Let's say Hartford.
I live right near Hartford.
Okay, great. So we'll just say Hartford so the world goes, oh, okay, the city in between New York and Boston.
Sure.
Yep. In Hartford, Connecticut, there are 100 pizzerias.
Sure.
Right? And there are also 100 insurance agents in Hartford, Connecticut. Let's just say 100 independent insurance agents. Mm-hmm. How does a pizzeria, that's what your family owns? Yeah. How does a pizzeria differentiate themselves from the other 99 pizzerias in Hartford, Connecticut?
So, at the end of the day, it's one thing, right? We have a certain taste. So when you're in a restaurant, Somebody can't duplicate your food.
Okay,
right?
so your red sauce
that.
on your pizza tastes different.
Sure.
And I'm like, oh, I love this.
We absolutely know that, right?
Okay.
Now, do we have the best pizza in the world? I don't know, right? But at the end of the day, it's not necessarily about the product or service that you sell. It's really not. It's how you make someone feel that really, really matters. There are people that come into our restaurant and call my mom, that are 20 years old, 30 years old, older than her. Why? And she responds to that, and she says hello, and she gives them a hug, and she brings them in the back, and we sit down, we eat, you can't, it's how they left feeling, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, in anything that you do, in anything that you sell, how do you make them feel?
Yeah.
Do you make them feel, I talk about this in our class, one of the 6 human needs that we all have is the need to feel significant. All of us have that, whether you know it or don't know it. And being under significant, there's 4 pieces. You either need to feel special, important, unique, or needed. Our customers, I hope, feel special.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that they know that without them, we don't have a business.
Yeah.
Without them, that we don't have anything. So when we're friends with them on social media and we follow them and we find out that they got into a little fender bender or something happened, we like to reach out and be like, hey, listen, I just saw that this happened. I'm like, why don't you come by tonight? We'd love to buy you dinner.
Yeah, that must have messed up your day.
That must have messed up your day. Like, can we just buy you couple large pizzas for your family? Yeah. But we want to do that. We have to do that. That's what differentiates us. What's your differentiator? What really it changes you? Paying attention to detail. Yeah. Paying attention to every little thing that happens. We know what's going on in our customers' lives, and if we can do something for them, if they're just having a baby and we'd like to buy them food for that day or a couple days and throw it in their fridge, or someone passes away and they're expecting 20 or 30 people at their house where they're not calling us. We saw that they just made a post that someone passed away in their family. And so let's feed everybody for that day. What are you going to do that's different?
Right.
And I feel like we do that really well. And on top of that, my brother Dimitri is very, very special. He's knows how to create dishes that really are eclectic and different, and our management team is just great. So they created a lot of great food, but the food piece is one piece of that. Yeah. Making sure that we feel that not only our customers but our employees, which is your employees are your number one customer, all feel special and important. So I think that's what really, truly makes a difference. Touch your clients. I say this in my class all the time, and it's so important. Touch your clients on such a level that your competition has no freaking understanding of it.
Yeah.
But that's on you to be able to make that connection.
Yeah. And to figure out how to do that.
And to figure out how to do that, because the way you're going to connect with someone is different the way I'm going to connect.
Sure.
We both have different communication styles. We have different backgrounds. The way we come across is different. We have to make sure we come across in the way we want to our customers for them to understand that we really have their back in anything. Yeah. Whether we sell pizza or insurance.
Yeah. Yeah. That's incredible. I think, so we have a restaurant, my wife and I, and sometimes the kids, but we go every single Friday night after work. Siri knows where we're going. So we plug in the phone into the car. Apple Play comes on the car, and it goes, clearly you're in the car at 5:30 at night, 6 o'clock at night. I know where you're headed. And she gives me the map to the restaurant. And I'm like, this is unfortunate that technology has figured out that every single Friday night it knows it knows for sure where we're going to go.
Why do you go there?
That's the point. The food is not good. It's a crappy Mexican restaurant where I'm like, this is not. Every week I go, why do we go here? And it's just
That's.
but
I didn't expect you to say
but
that.
I know you did.
Oh my goodness.
But the customer experience is 100% there. We know every single waiter by name.
Oh.
We give every single waiter an awesome Christmas tip whenever once Christmas time comes around, every single Friday night for like 6 weeks, whoever the waiter is for that 6 weeks is getting an amazing tip. Like the manager comes around every single time and knows all of our kids' name by names.
Really?
They're right close to an amphitheater, so they're very close to a concert venue. And he's like, yeah, we have partnerships with the concert venue. You guys are such loyal customers. If you ever have problems getting tickets to a person at this specific venue, hey, let us know. We can help you get these tickets.
No way.
And so, like, the food is not the thing that keeps us coming back over and over and over. But the level of service and that customer experience keeps us coming back every single week.
So do you feel special?
Absolutely.
Do you feel important?
100%.
It's
Yeah.
one of the things we all have,
Yeah.
personally or professionally.
Yeah.
We all have that need.
Yeah.
And imagine if their food was great.
Yeah, if the food was great, then
Can you imagine?
we'd probably eat there 3 times a week, as opposed to once.
And you go there for the feeling.
Right,
You go there because at the end of the day, you have a choice.
right.
You don't have to go there.
Yeah, and what's funny is I don't know if it was your class where I go, why do we go here every single week? and I'm sitting there going, they've created a customer experience that our family is addicted to. It's something that we know that we're going to, And so I'm talking about your class on a Friday night after getting home from Utah, going, hey everybody. Does everybody understand why we're going to this restaurant? We don't like the food, do we? And they're all like, no, the food's not that good. I'm like, yeah, we could go somewhere else and get better Mexican food, right? And they're like, absolutely, Dad. I'm like, but we love it because we know who our waiter's going to be tonight. And we know that he just got surgery on his hand. And we know that we gave him a Christmas bonus Christmas tip last year. And we know that the manager's going to come call us by name and ask how we're doing. And it's just amazing that they can create that customer experience. I guess the big question is how does an insurance agent create that customer experience where their customers become, and I saw this from another guest speaker at another place, but she talked about super fans and creating super fans, which I think is what your presentation touches on, which is like you want your customers to think the world about you and just become super fans. And she defined super fans as customers that create more customers for you.
Yeah. That's one of the purposes of a company is
Absolutely.
to create a customer that creates customers.
Right.
Because I could tell you, Sean, that my class is great.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But
I'll say it again. It is. It's amazing.
Thank you very much. But when Chris Paradiso tells you, hey, Sean, Christos' class amazing. You should hire him.
Yeah.
You should hear him. You should let people know about him. He has nothing to gain from that.
Right.
He has nothing to gain from that. So when a customer starts talking to other people about you, because at the end of the day, I ask people, and I do a lot of realty teams.
Yeah.
And I say, how big is your sales team? And they say, there's 8 of us. And I go, there's not 8 of you.
Yeah.
And they go, yeah, there's 8 of us. They're like,
yeah, there are.
and I go, that's not your sales team.
Right.
Your happiest customers are your biggest advocates. They're your sales team.
Yeah.
And then you have 880, 800, 8,000 salespeople. And you could have a business that, I talk to a couple people that tell me they can't keep up with the amount of business that they have but they also have just special people that all they focus on is customer experience.
Yeah.
That's their only job.
Yeah.
Because there's other people that are really good transactional.
Yeah.
And they know that this person's really good at that. Having someone else making sure that that customer is taken care of in the way that they need to is something else. So that person that said that, it's 100% correct.
Yeah. It's very interesting to see how insurance agents across the United States create the super fan or create that customer experience that you mentioned, your competition in town can't begin to fathom how you're doing it. Like, what are they doing that is making these people love them so much? But like, you think about Chris Paradiso's Flag Day, right? And that customer experience, you know, and you just think about, like, I mean, I could go on and drop 15 names and go, this is how I see them from afar, creating that customer experience. And it's absolutely delightful to see how everybody does it in their own unique way. And yet it's still a very impactful customer experience for their specific clients. And they are doing it in their own unique way, but they're getting it done. And it's really neat to see. It just goes to show that it's not like this cookie cutter.
It's not.
You know?
It's really not.
Like, if I do these 5 things, my customers will love me and become super fans.
It all depends on them. It all depends on what their need is, right? And getting to know your customer on a personal level, I think helps you understand them better and understand what they actually need.
So how does Disney make super fans? Like, what's their philosophy of making super fans? You keep using that word, like, magic. Like, do they use that and be like, your job as a cast member is to create a magic moment?
Absolutely, it is. It all starts with the people that work there.
Okay.
Because if you could see, a lot of people that work there want to work there. So creating that magical moment, it's not that difficult for them. Because at the end of the day, the stories that I use in my class and the story that I just told you, again, zero, it's a little effort to make that happen. People want to work there. And they're empowered to do whatever makes the guest happy. Now, at the end of the day, Disney's standard level of service, their standard, if I'm just doing my job, is we're exceeding guest expectations at the bare minimum.
Yeah.
So we're taught that.
Yeah.
If you're doing the least amount of work, especially as a leader of the organization, you're exceeding guest expectations. So what happens if you all want to take it one step above that?
Yeah, right.
You're creating situations and experiences for people that are blowing away,
their mind,
blowing their mind. You know, and it takes.
I expected this. You gave a little bit of effort, and now I'm like, how did you even do that, Christos? How did you pull that off? Right, so, that kind of moment.
Absolutely. Again, the people that want to work there and do it naturally. Yeah. Now, in any organization, when you're happy of where you are, you naturally, you know, there's one thing that I read, and I forgot the person that said this. They said, a customer will not love the company until the employee loves it first. And it stuck in my mind, and I was like, that's correct. Because when an employee loves it, they naturally act happy, and they naturally, without me having to say, hey, listen, as soon as somebody comes in, I want you to do this, I want you to say this,
smile.
I want you to smile, I want you to make believe you're happy, and I want you to, but when then someone comes in and they're really happy where they work, sure, they can have some training as to, you know, some methods of thinking, but they naturally exude it. Yeah. So I think it really starts as to, you know,
they show that chispa, you know, where they're like,
shows that chispa.
I'm addicted to this person already.
So when you create a great work environment for companies, you know, that want people that are attracted to work there, they want to work there for a certain reason. I don't think it's that hard to give an amazing customer experience. I really don't. You have to want to, and you know what, Sean, selfishly, it feels good.
It does. It really does.
It really does. I'm not going to say that. I really, like, it makes me so happy that somebody just left so happy out of our family restaurant or out of one of the...
provided a meal for somebody on their worst day or whatever.
Selfishly, I'm just like...
It feels great.
Yeah, it does. I'm like, and it's such a small gesture, but you have no idea what it means to them. No idea.
It's been so much fun to, like, look for these moments. Since your presentation, it's been so much fun to look for these moments. Like, it's going to be easy for me to find these moments if I just go look for them.
You're right. You're really right.
Yeah. And to your point, selfishly, it feels really good. Like, writing these handwritten letters, it's like, it makes me giggle. The things I'm writing, I'm like, this is just fun for me, you know, and it's going to brighten somebody's day, and they're going to feel better, and maybe they'll giggle and be like, man, that was fun. Thank you for sending that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You were at the Merrill Insurance Agency?
Yes, I was just there.
How was that? Those guys are amazing.
I was there with Brett and his dad
Brett
and everyone.
His dad are amazing.
Oh, I had such a great
I've
time.
never met anybody else in the organization, but Brett and his dad, I've met them both, and they're both incredible gentlemen.
Let me tell you, I left there on Tuesday. We ended around 5:15, and I was going to Clearwater area to present for another company the next day for Darren's company. And Mr. Merrill, Brett's dad, is like, "Hey, before you leave, I'd love to chat with you." And I sat in his office from 5:15 to about 7:15.
You're like, I gotta go.
I didn't even know.
Yeah.
I just had such a great time talking to Mr. Merrill, and we just talked about life in general. And it was just, he was like, he thanked me for being there, and I'm like, thank you for
letting me be
here. I'm like, you're my customer.
Yeah, right.
I can't even express my gratitude for not only hiring me, but he hired me to be there for 2 full days and work with his staff. And, they have some powerhouses that work there.
Yeah.
Like really some people that are just, but I can tell you this though. I asked a lot of questions while I was there because my job was to make sure that, the only thing I teach is service, right? I teach whether it's internal, whether it's external, I teach about service. And I can tell you this, every single person that I spoke to said how much they love the Merrill family.
It's true.
Like how much. And I was like, I don't really hear that a lot when I go to companies. Someone will pull me aside and be like, man, I'm like, I don't, the companies, now they do this, then they do this, then whatever the thing is. Every single person was like, this family is amazing to us. And I was just like, whoa. I didn't know what to. So at the end of the day, when I met with Brett, I was like, so everyone loves you.
Yeah.
And your dad. Every single person said how lucky they feel to work here for you. And I'm like, I maybe want to work for you. I don't know. I want to have that feeling too. I'm like, do you need someone that doesn't know about insurance to sell insurance for you or sell a sense of safety and security? He's like, no, go to Darren's place, get out now, But yeah, I was there. It was a great time hanging out with them.
Brett's a smart guy. He's he's a smart guy. He's fun to watch.
Yeah.
I met him 3 or 4 years ago, and he's been fun to watch. He's been really fun to watch.
And he's in grow mode.
He is. He's that's the fun thing. Like knowing thousands of agencies across the industry, it's really fun to like see like the top 1% or the top 5%, and all of the things that they're putting into place to move directionally the right direction, and it's really fun to watch. He's been a fun one to watch.
Oh, I love it.
And so I loved seeing you there because I was like, this is perfect. They're gonna get even better. It's just that good.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Let me ask last question.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that okay?
We're almost done.
We're almost done. It goes fast.
Wow.
It goes fast. And I say last question. I almost always say last question, and then we go for like another 20 minutes.
Okay.
But what would you tell 22-year-old Christos? How old were you when you went to Disney?
I was about 31.
Yeah.
31, 32, right around there when I went there.
Okay. Well, let's go back to 22-year-old Christos. What would you tell him?
I would tell him to not be scared of failing. Because there were times in my life and different things that I would pivot, meaning I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do this. I saw it not going well, but it's not that it failed, but I just would like retract and I'd be like, okay, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to do this. And I realized that I'm like, I should have just done it regardless if I failed or not, because I would have learned so much. Yeah. And today I'm 46. I could tell you this. I have failed before. Yeah. I'm okay with it. But I'm not scared of, the only thing I'm actually scared of is not trying. Yeah. So I'm not scared of failing. Yeah. I'll punch that in the mouth. I'm okay with it, right? Yeah. I'm just scared of not trying. And I'll go and attempt anything. I'm like, I never knew that, 2 years ago when I was speaking in Connecticut, I never knew that 2 years from now I'd be speaking nationwide, speaking for stages of 500 to 800 people and having people sending me messages on social media and be like, your presentation changed the way I thought. Someone said to me, your presentation made me think, I didn't communicate well with my spouse the way that I should.
Right.
And I was like, you got that from my class?
Yeah.
Really? And I'm like, and then I told someone, I said, all I teach is customer experience. And they said, that's not actually what you only teach.
It's true.
And, I don't know how to even react to that. I was like, what do you mean by that? Like, I don't understand even.
What else are you getting?
I'm like, what are you getting at? And they're like, but that was my biggest thing that I would probably tell 22-year-old Christos, be like, just go for whatever you want to go. Yeah. If you fail, you fail. You start over, you do something different. Just don't be scared to fail.
What was something you were scared of? Like, what was something 22 or 23 or 24-year-old Christos is like, don't go down that road. You'll fail and it will be horrible. Go the safe route. Go that direction instead.
I think feeling embarrassed of failing, and feeling embarrassed of like, oh my goodness, everyone knows that. I'm like, who cares? Who cares? What
that comes with a level of maturity too, right?
100%. I wasn't mature.
I was probably the same way. I think every 22-year-old is the same. I don't want to say everyone, but I think many 22-year-olds are like, if I go down that road, it'll be embarrassing and it might not go right.
100%.
A lot of people don't know this about me, but like I sang. I was a singer, and I took voice lessons, and I applied for scholarships for vocal performance, and I can sing Italian arias today if you wanted me to in this microphone. And I've won competitions and all this kind of stuff.
Are you
serious?
But
when it came time to like get a degree, it was like, I better not. I'd fail. And so I'll just pivot to insurance. but my point is,
what
is
a
like,
pivot.
But my point is like, what 22-year-old? I mean, most 22-year-olds would be like, there's no real future in that. I'm going to have to provide for a family one day. I probably shouldn't run down this road of singing, right? And then your head goes, yeah, you're right. Don't do that. Go the safe route. Go the insurance route. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, I think it's a very normal emotion for a young person to say, I'll be embarrassed if it doesn't work out, so I better just pivot and go the safe route so I won't have to be embarrassed. But with time, and, I'm 43, with time you go, okay, cool. So if something failed, that would be not that big of a deal, and I won't be that embarrassed, and it's not that, it won't be detrimental to my existence. Let's go try it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. When you read about successful people out there, and also success has its own definition.
Yeah, that's true.
Everyone's definition is different.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can meet someone that makes X amount, that is a certain age, that said, my goal was this, I reached it. They actually might be happier than anyone that you even know because they reached what they wanted to. Right. And that's what their level of what success means to them. But a lot of people that have really made it out there have failed a lot of times. They just don't. Yeah. They won't talk about it until one day they write a book. Yeah. Or they're on a podcast or on this, and they'd be like, I failed so many times from people like, really? We just thought that things just magically happened to you. Yeah. And they're like, you have no idea. But I think being self-aware is being able to accept who you are and accept what you're good at and what you're not good at. Yeah. So, that's exactly what I tell you. Accept it.
Say, yeah, sure, I'll fail.
Yeah, it's okay.
If I go into this and I fail 2 years from now, whoop-de-doo, it'll be fine.
And you can admit it to yourself. Instead of saying, it was this is the reason that I failed. Yeah. Doesn't matter. I failed, move on, boom.
And I'm embarrassed for the next 3 days. After that, I'm moving on.
I'm done, I'm done. So.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
No, but this has been great, man. Thank you for you said you were in Dallas yesterday.
I was. I got on a plane. I got out of my hotel room at 3:30 this morning so I could be here with you. And I got to tell you, that doesn't even bother me. Like, I'm going to see Christos. I'm up and I'm like, I've been so excited for this moment. So thank you so much for coming.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for making it work. Yeah. I know you got some awesome speaking engagements in the month of September. And October. October is a busy month for you.
Yeah, probably one of my busiest months. I have about 8 engagements in October.
I won't necessarily say where, but Christos is going to show up basically everywhere in the month of October in the insurance industry, and I think that's really cool. You're doing Mike Stromso's thing. I guess I will say where
Yes.
you're doing Mike Stromso's boot camp thing.
Absolutely, I'm really happy
in San Diego,
Mhm.
and then you're doing Soup Live as well, which is a big stage in front of a lot of people. You're gonna be all over the place.
So I'm excited to meet people. I'm excited to share my message. I'm excited to hear what they think.
Yeah.
I'm excited to everyone that I meet with. I learn. Sometimes I'm like, man, I might have taught you a thing or two, but I'm like, you taught me like 10 things.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, so I'm just happy to, be around these people that are just so smart, and be able to, like, just listening to you talk today, this morning, about where have you been and about the company and where you are. And I'm like, I could listen to you all day. Really.
I don't know about that.
I really could.
It would get boring really quick.
If it got boring, you just would sing me an Italian.
I'd be like, I feel like I'm losing your attention. Hold on one second.
And then just start going to me. So that would be great. So, I feel very lucky, and to have met you and everyone in the insurance industry, and it's been great. It's really been great.
Well, I'm glad we've done this because now, the carrier world is being introduced to you. I mean, a lot of what goes on with this podcast is the carrier seeing this as well. And so, I know a lot of the independent insurance agency world is seeing Christos and finding out about you and hearing about you. But, ultimately, I'm excited for the carrier world to start going, who's Christos? What's he saying to independent insurance agents? What's his message? Could his message apply to the carrier world as well, and to their sales reps and their sales teams, and to, what they have going on within their organizations as well? And by the way, it's incredibly applicable. So I could see your message just going and plugging into so many wonderful organizations, and to maybe not your point, but to your attendees' points that they're making. Your message is so much more than customer service. It's not 90 minutes of provide better customer service. It's whoever listens to it walks away just, if they're smart, they're walking away thinking about what you just said for 90 minutes on 15 different levels and going, I've got some work to do to become a better person, a better human being, to provide a better customer experience, how to create super fans, how do I do all of this stuff? How do I communicate better with my wife and my kids and all of that? Why do I make the consumer decisions I'm making? I mean, you walk away just going, oh my gosh, I need to think about all these things now.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
You're doing a great job. I hope everybody calls up Christos and says, Christos, get here to my agency, get here to my carrier, and start. And you get to be seen by everybody. You should be seen by everybody. His message should be heard by everybody.
Oh man, you make me feel like important and special.
You really are great, Christos.
I really do, man. Thank you very much, and I look forward to your call every morning at 8 a.m. to tell me that, so I can start my day off great.
How about we just do a text?
Okay, well, then we'll just do a text.
And on Mountain Standard Time, which will be like 10 a.m. your time. So if that's fine, then That'd be great. I'll start doing it.
Oh man, great. Be like, oh, my daily message from
you
Sean.
You can do this, Christos. You're the best, Christos.
Wow, man, that's great. Yeah. Thank you again for having me on here.
Right.
I'm so excited.
Thank you very much. Have a good one, everybody. This has been a podcast, the Insurance You Indemnify Me podcast, and we'll catch you all later. Bye-bye.
Thank you.